Kykar, Wind's Fury versus Athreos, God of Passage. Yeah, let's keep that. I'm going to go for Gitaxian Probe first of all, and see if we need to worry about a mana drain. Holding up a mana drain, that is. We'll go for the life on Gitaxian Probe. Okay, what have we got there? There's Altar's Reap, Dark Confident, Inquisition of Kozilek, so that is probably taking the mana drain away from us anyway. So in that case, we get into Gravitational Shift. I have changed some cards in the deck around, taking out the Mentor of the Meek and Young Pyromancer, cards like that, in favour of these flying Anthem effects. And there is the Inquisition of Kozilek, so let's see what they go for. Must be the mana drain, surely. Yeah, it certainly is. Let's go for a red and blue source. Alright, we get into a Clifftop Retreat. We are not going to play that. We don't want our opponent to know what we've drawn into, so let's just hold off on Clifftop Retreat for as long as we can. Alright, but we know what our opponent drew into. That is a Viscera Seer, so we know of almost all the cards in their hand. We can get rid of that. Yeah, 4 of the 5 cards in their hand we know about. Alright, Glacial Fortress is another one that we can keep our opponent off of knowing about. Let's get down the snow-covered island, and we'll go in for this Empyrean Eagle. Empyrean Eagle is in here for flavour reasons, really. It's an M20 uncommon, a 2/3 for 3 in Azorius. It's a flying bird spirit and gives other flying creatures +1/+1. Really, we should have the 3 mana Anthem, the white one that just gives all our creatures +1/+1 because it's more difficult to remove than this. Okay, they go for the Sin Collector, so there's another one that they've top decked into. So that gets rid of our Path to Exile. Now, they can go for a Shriekmaw onto our commander. I say we just hold out on wiping the board because we want to get rid of that Dark Confident, don't we? And worst case scenario, we just slow roll Gravitational Shift. Let's swing in here. Don't mind taking 3 from our opponent if they want to swing in at us. Oh, and I didn't see that the Wasteland had come down, so that's actually only 3 of the 4 cards in our opponent's hand that we know about now. Going for Bloodstained Mire into Scrubland, I imagine. There is Athreos, God of Passage. Haven't been over the commanders, have we? That's 3 mana in Azorius for an indestructible 5/4, but you need your devotion to Azorius to be 7 or greater for it to become a creature. Whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless an opponent pays 5 life. No, it's not 5 life, it's 3. 3 life. Another land, yeah, that's not great. Let's get down the Clifftop Retreat and go for this Gravitational Shift. That's +2/+0 to flying creatures and -2 -0 to non-flying creatures. Let's hit our opponent in the air for 4. And then we can just go for Kykar next turn and get this Shriekmaw out of our opponent's hand. Okay, they're sacrificing the Sin Collector for a Scry. We will pay 3 life to prevent Sin Collector going back into their hand. Would very much like to keep the Supreme Verdict. And I suppose they might as well sacrifice Sin Collector for a Scry because it's not going to be dealing any damage anyway. Okay, there's Elspeth Knight Errant. We can deal a lot of damage to that next turn, so it's not as big a threat as it would be otherwise. I was going to say they might just make a token and sacrifice it to Viscera Seer, but instead they gave it... It's +3/+3, isn't it? I'm sure I just saw that as a 6/4. I don't know. Anyway, let's go for... I want to hold up the Disallow. So in that case, we'll get this down tapped, and we will swing in at Elspeth. Now, either our opponent does something that we can disallow next turn, or want to disallow, or we draw into a land next turn, hopefully, and then we can go Kykar holding up counter magic. There we go, right, so let's look at this. This should be a 2-4, should it not? Let's see what it jumps up to. A 6-4. Why a 6-4? I don't understand that. Yeah, our opponent's just pointed out because of the gravitational shift, I completely forgot that Elspeth gives flying as well. It's not very typical of a white effect that. Yeah, target creature gains +3/+3 and gains flying. So it actually gets a +2 buff to its attack. So yeah, that is absolutely right. It's difficult sometimes to know if the client's being weird or if you're just missing something. And this time it was me just missing something. Luckily, we can get rid of Elspeth next turn, hopefully. Sacrificing the Viscera Seer. Do we care about them having a Viscera Seer? You know what? I think I will keep them from having that. Now, do I want to stop them from drawing cards? Altar's Reap has been cast, so we know they have Dark Confidant and Shriekmaw. Yeah, we'll just let them draw and see what they can do. They may go for Shriekmaw now to keep Elspeth in play. No, it's a Fairgrounds Warden. Exile a creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. I really want rid of that Elspeth, so I think we have to disallow here. The Fairgrounds Warden goes down. Now we can get down Kykar. Well, we'll get down the Volcanic Island first. Yeah, Kykar's going to go down to Shriekmaw, but at least we can force the issue. Let's get rid of this Elspeth so that we don't go down to big flying damage. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. We took a lot of damage because of Elspeth and gaining flying there, so that is pretty good for our opponent. Pretty unfortunate for us, though. We'll tap down all of our non-basic lands because there is a wasteland over there. And unfortunately didn't manage to get Kykar down very quickly this game because we were playing around the Shriekmaw. Let's see if they want to get that down now. Yep, that's exactly what they've been waiting for. They have evoked it, so we will have to put 3 life into making sure they don't get the Shriekmaw back, because we don't want to play around that for the rest of the game, but we cannot keep our opponent from getting cards back with Athreos now. Okay, there's O-Ring. And they are going to get rid of our bird. Now it's just a case of seeing if they can top deck into something for getting rid of Kykar. We need to get a win off really quickly if we're going to. Get the Prismatic Vista down and pass it over to our opponent. We haven't gotten into any of our rocks or cantrips either, so I'm not sure how useful Kykar would have been coming down any earlier anyway. A Dark Confidant and a Mother of Runes, both of which do not have any power, so we don't have to worry about the swing back with those. They are now in top deck mode. Okay, just more lands. Yeah, might have to lower the land count on this. Some decks are really funny like that, and I don't know if it's got something to do with the shuffler on Modo. But yeah, some decks are really weird in that you draw into lands quite regularly. And Kykar is one of them, but I think I only have like 38 lands in this deck, which isn't all that many. They get a Journey to Nowhere, so that will get rid of Kykar. They want to remove this gravitational shift, really. Oh, and they had removal anyway with Palace Jailer. And now that animates Athreos, so they can go in for the win. And there we are, that takes us down to 0. And yeah, pretty unlucky there, just getting into lands towards the end. And not really getting into any of our cheap spells that we could have gotten bird tokens with. Yeah, pretty unlucky there, but we'll get another one going and see if we have any more luck than this. Kykar wins Fury versus Omnath, Locus of the Roil. Be intrigued to see what someone else has done with this commander. 2 M20 commanders pitting it out. Let's keep that. And what do we want to do? we can shock down a steam vents or go for fiery islet. Or just go for a tundra. Now we'll shock down the steam vents. And get down this preordain. Okay, that's a lot more mana. I just had a game in which I was complaining about drawing into lands all the time. Let's tempt fate by putting both of these on the bottom. And then we draw into a land. Okay. No, it's just amusing. I don't think you're going to see the game that I just had because it wasn't particularly entertaining, but I was talking about how there's some decks on Magic Online that I don't know if it's got something to do with the shuffler, but yeah, this is one of them where I just tend to draw into lands all the time, and I've only got like 38 lands in this deck, which is pretty much all my decks have 37 or 38 lands in. Let's go for the Misty Rainforest. We can get a tapped shock in with that. And we just need to hope that we draw into something other than lands. Omnath, Locus of the Roil. Oh, Kadama's Reach, yeah, that's really good. Omnath, Locus of the Roil is 4 mana in Temur for a 3/3 elemental. When it enters the battlefield, it deals damage to any target equal to the number of elementals you control. They are in Temur mana now. Whenever a land enters under your control, if you control 8 or more, draw a card, and you put a plus counter on an elemental you control. We'll get down Hollowed Fountain tapped, and that gets our shocks out of the way. Don't think we have a Boros shock in this deck. Now, are they going to get into another land is the question, because Generous Gift... I mean, can we deal with the elephant this early on? I think we just go for another tapped shock if we have one in the deck. Yeah, always seem to draw the lands in this deck and not the actual rocks, so yeah, getting pretty unlucky there. Horn of Greed is whenever a player draws a card. It's not on landfall, so we won't get a card draw from the Flooded Strand, unfortunately. A life gain land and some card draw from Horn of Greed. We have 3 lands in hand, so we're going to get some card draw there as well. Although I imagine Omnath is built around getting multiple lands into play. Oh, we do have the shock, Sacred Foundry, so that's good. We can get that in tapped. And then let's see what else we can grab here. Yeah, I mean, does our opponent have removal in Temur for Kykar? We don't have removal in hand anyway, or we don't have counter magic in hand anyway. Let's see what we draw off the Cascade Bluffs before we decide anything. Narset Parter of Veils is pretty good, but I think I want to wait on that for now. Let's go for Ogre Battle Driver. And then at least if we get Kykar down, we can swing in with it straight away. Ogre Battle Driver is whenever another creature enters under your control, it gains haste and +2 to its power until the end of the turn, which is particularly good with Kykar Wind's Fury because we can get a lot of spirits into play, 1 every time we cast a non-creature spell. So 4 mana Jeskai, 3/3 flying Bird Wizard. And you can sack a spirit to get red. Okay, going after our mana with Acidic Slime, I see how it's going to be. Let's make Izzet like that. And then we go white, we drop a Snow-Covered Plains, get into Jeskai Ascendancy, and we'll just get down our commander. Our commander will get haste and +2 to its power. And we'll swing in the air like that. Don't want to lose our Ogre Battle Driver, so we'll not swing into the Acidic Slime. And that's not an elemental, that's an ooze, so not too worried about a lightning bolt from Omnath just yet. Omnath comes down, it can only deal 1 damage, but it looks like they are wanting to get their commander down so they can start buffing other elementals maybe. Or perhaps just putting plus counters on Omnath. A burgeoning, so if they've got more lands, then they will be able to get them into play when we play one. Now, I think it might be a good idea to get Narset out because it will switch off their Horn of Greed. Yeah, and if we can... Well, do we want to chump block the attacking creatures though? We might want to chump Omnath if we're not going to be able to outrace our opponent? Yeah, I don't know. Let's get this land down and get some card draw going. We'll see if they've got a land off of that burgeoning. They do, so they managed to get that going. That doesn't count as playing a land though, so it doesn't trigger Horn of Greed. It will, however, put a plus counter on Omnath. And did they draw there? That's 2, 4, 6, 7. No, they're 1 away from getting landfall, draw a card. Let's take a look at our opponent's hand and pay 2 life to do so. That will get us into a spirit token. And that enters as a 3-1 flying with haste thanks to the Ogre Battle Driver. We draw a card and look at our opponent's hand here. Okay, Tatyova Benthic Druid is really good. Yeah, generous gift on that, I think. Can we outrace our opponent is the main question. We'll go Lightning Greaves because it's cheap. Actually, let's go for Jeskai Ascendancy. The client's been really slow and weird. I'm trying to add Is It here. There we go, it's finally caught up. Go for Jeskai Ascendancy. And that will create another spirit. I'm just going to see if we can outrace our opponent at this point, because we're going to have a big Omnath crashing in anytime soon. Whenever we play a non-creature spell, we can draw a card and discard a card. And it also untaps all of our creatures and gives them +1/+1. So if you've got lots of cantrips and things like that in hand, then you can really get a lot going. Oh, Coastal Piracy, I like that. Let's just get rid of Mission Briefing, although that is a cheap one. Let's get rid of Jace, actually. It's quite an expensive card. Then we will go for Protection on Kykar. And let's swing in the air. In the air, get back, Ogre Battle Driver. That's 16 damage, so if we can do that again next turn, they've only got a Tatyova in hand, but they can get some card draw going. So we'll just have to hope that they don't get anything like that on the go. We've got Ogre Battle Driver to block with if we're desperate. Out comes Tatyova, that's landfall. Gain a life, draw a card. They'll draw a couple of cards here. No, they won't. They'll draw 3 because Omnath is switched on. So from landfall, they get card draw from Omnath, Tatyova, and the Horn of Greed. So now's the time to draw into something good if they want to. Omnath and Tatyova trigger on any land entering in any form or fashion. So they draw a couple more. Up to 8 cards. Yeah, an argument to be made for us going for Narset there, because we knew that our opponent had the Tatyova in hand. But yeah, they don't have anything, so we can go for Bus next turn. They swing in for 8 commander damage. And our gamble paid off, I think. Oh, Sphinx's Revelation's good, but that's a late game card and we can't really afford that now. Burgeoning will trigger and Horn of Greed will trigger for us. Let's see if they got into another land. If they play a land here, it will trigger Tatyova and Omnath, and they do. That's a couple more cards. Let's just hope they don't have a fog in hand for this forest. They will gain a life though, which hopefully isn't going to be relevant. And our opponent decides to scoop it up. They obviously don't like what they've got in hand. We were going to go for Narset there to keep them from drawing any more. And then probably Generous Gift as well. That would have been... oh, what would that have been? It would have come down as a 3-1, then been buffed up to a 4-2. And then a 3-1 would have come in, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7 power on its own. And then that's 10 and 13. So yeah, we should have been able to get out the win there. Risky not getting down Narset as soon as we possibly could. But I wanted to get as much damage through as possible, and I think the aim of the game there was to outrace our opponent, because we had a big angry Omnath coming through, smashing its way into our life total. So that worked out quite nicely, and it was entirely thanks to the Ogre Battle Driver that we could outrace our opponent there. Otherwise we would have just been chump blocking with spirits and might have been able to get something going there. but the haste was really helpful, especially if we would have had to rely on a coastal piracy. Could have gotten some card draw going. But anyway, that was Kykar Wind's Fury versus Omnath, Locus of the Roil. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.